Good morning, church. You know, if Caesar and Ira had just gone on a little bit longer, Mike could have just led us in that final song and we could have gone home. I appreciate so much the remarks that were made, and if you're visiting with us today, we want you to know it's an honor to have you here. I always have a challenge on Mother's Day. And it's not that I don't like Mother's Day or believe in Mother's Day. I think it's probably the most significant day of the year because of what's behind it. The problem is I'm not sure I know how to preach a really good Mother's Day sermon. I think for me at least it's the most difficult sermon of the year. In my 50-something years of preaching, I've preached a mother's life, a heart of a mother, how to treat a lady. I've even gone to the extreme of trying to, Jezebel a mother in contrast. It's a challenge because while Mother's Day is a joyous day and a happy day, it can also be a sad day and a day of grief. Maybe you recently lost your mother, maybe recently enough that it's still very painful to you. Maybe you lost a child and you grieve on Mother's Day. Maybe you had difficulties with your mother. Maybe your mother wasn't like the one you think you'd read in the Bible that would be ideal. Maybe you have some bad memories. Maybe you have some guilt feelings about being a mother. Maybe you were never able to be a mother. Maybe you never had a real mother. Maybe you were raised by a family or in a foster home. Maybe you're a single mom. You're not like the Cleavers and the Brady Bunch. I think some homes are more like Ozzy Osbourne family than Ozzie Nelson family. And as soon as I say that, some people are going to say, Ozzie Nelson who? Some of us were blessed to grow up in a good Christian home. I had a mother for 90 plus years who, until the time she decided she lived long enough on this earth, was there to support me. Some of us have had extraordinarily wonderful parents, and I thank God for them. I thank God for the mothers today, especially the mothers. And in spite of all the things that I've just said, I want to try to encourage you. I'd like to lift you up today. You see, everyone here is either a mother, had a mother, is a mother, married to a mother, or knows a mother. I'm pretty sure that covers about all the bases. So in spite of the challenges that may be here, the challenges that I feel and you feel, I want to do my very best to encourage you. Mothers have sayings. We've all had some, and the ones I'm going to say today are not new. But I was talking with a friend one time, and he said, in my early life, I wasn't a Christian. He said, it's interesting that even though our family didn't go to church at the time, we had the same sayings. So here's some of them. My mother taught me religion. When I spilled grape juice on the carpet, she said, you better pray that stain comes out. My mother taught me logic. Because I said so, that's why. My mother taught me to think ahead. Make sure you wear clean underwear in case you're in an accident. My mother taught me irony. If you don't stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. My mother taught me endurance. You will sit there until every speck of that spinach is gone. My mother taught me about weather. She said it looks like a tornado has come through your room. I said my mother taught me the circle of life, but I think this was more my dad. I brought you into this world and I can take you out. My mother taught me about behavior modification. Stop acting like your father. My mother taught me appreciation. There are millions of less fortunate children in this world who don't have a wonderful mom like you've got. Trying to praise, trying to even wrap around a little bit the value of motherhood is a task that I can't do in a few words this morning, because as Ira mentioned, motherhood is not a short task. It's not something that you start and one day you say, well, I'm going to take a break for a couple of weeks. It's something that goes on and on. By the time a child reaches 18 years of age, a mother will have spent 18,000 hours on that child, on child-related tasks. Now, if you had 2 or 3 or 4, you just go ahead and multiply that out. George Barna, I like to follow him. He did some research on today's generation of teens. He published his finding in a book called Third Millennium Teens. And his book talked about the worldviews and the interests, the struggles and the influences and on, many of the things that affect the lives of children. But the one thing that jumped off of the page to me, surprised me, was the number one influence. Can you guess in 80% of the lives of children who they say is the most important person in their life? 8 out of 10 say it's the parents, mom and dad. They have more influence than their coaches at school, their teachers, their friends, their youth pastor, and sadly, even the Bible. 24 million children live in a single-family parent home. That's 1 in 3. The U.S. has the highest population of children who are in single-parent homes. The Pew Research Center did a study of 130 countries and territories. And of all of those, the United States has the highest rate of single-parent families on the planet. Just listen to this. 23% of American homes are single-parent. Only 3% of Chinese parents are single parents, and only 5% of Indian parents are single-parent homes. This says of all the industrialized nations, the United States sticks out like a big sore thumb. How can that happen in a country where we have so many things that relate to us about God and goodness? But I want you to know, moms, in the midst of all of that, you make a huge difference. You're the one reason that our society hasn't just unraveled. When I went to Russia, they talked about what a man's world it was. It didn't take me but about a week there to realize if the women disappeared, Russia would disappear. One mom who really made a difference in the life of her child was Hannah, in the life of her child, Samuel. When you look at Hannah and you read the story, if you heard this morning what Caesar read to us, you understand that Hannah was under a lot of pressure. Pressures are different, but it doesn't really matter if you're in this pressure cooker, you're this pressure cooker. If you're under pressure, it's all the same. She couldn't have children. Maybe that's why her husband took another wife. We don't have that stigma today, but he said, all right, I better it for you than 10 sons, and she'd have been, speaking the truth. No. It was so important in that culture and in that time to have children. And yet year after year, Peninnah would make it hard for her. She would tease her and ridicule her and mock her. Our moms today are under a lot of pressure. The deal with the raising the kids and the pressure just gets exceedingly worse if you're a single mom. Here's some general things that put moms under pressure. Time demand, finances, relationship demands, a mom's protective instinct, self-doubt, time alone. So we get more specific on the challenges and the pressures that mom feel. She thinks, well, what if behind my back the school tries to change the gender of one of my children? And I know when I do that, some of you look like I have a third head, but within a short driving distance of here, a teacher quit because the school said, you will lie to the parents and you will tell them nothing about our transitioning of your child. What a pressure. What lines do I draw when it comes to technology with my kids, with my phones, with it? How am I going to get all the money just to the things they need, not the things they want? How can I select their friends or help select their friends without them feeling smothered? Is there a way I can protect them from the weirdos in the world? Am I ever going to get a break for myself? Hannah, being no stranger to difficulties and pressures, she had something that as many times as I read it this week, it really stood out to me. Hannah had her faith. It'd be hard waiting all those years for a child. Only Abraham and Sarah might relate like that. But in verse 18 of the text Caesar read for us, it says, she said, may your servant find favor in your eyes. Then she went away and she ate something and her face was no longer downcast. What's the worst thing in the world? Waiting? Disease. Probably disease. How about war? Well, that could be significant. But waiting is sometimes really hard. I wished every supermarket had 3 fast lanes. They had a lane for lanes that people wanted to come in and shop and go, not to have to stand behind people who stand and talk to the cashier about everything in the world while we're hemorrhaging behind them waiting to check out. Imagine how tough it would have been for Hannah to hand over her son, maybe 3 years, 4 years old, to the high priest to be trained for the highest office. She doesn't live around the corner. She lives at such a distance that she will come once a year. She will bring clothes for her son. Can you imagine being without that child? I mean, you know he's there, he's doing okay, but all the little things that you and I have seen and look forward to seeing in our children as they grow up, the little things, Hannah saw none of that. But Hannah was a purpose-driven woman. She made a vow to God, and it was a vow that she was determined to keep. An incredible woman of faith. I thought this morning, after I had spent some time looking at different places, maybe moms, it might be helpful when you're just, you're sitting on a postage stamp and you're dangling your legs. That's how low you feel. Maybe it would be helpful to take your Bible and turn to places and read people about mothers like Hannah, Moses' mother, and a host of other mothers. Maybe it would encourage you, mom to mom. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 24, after he was weaned, she took the boy with her, young as he was, along with the 3-year bull, an ephah of flour, and a skin of wine, and brought them to the house of the Lord, Shiloh. When they'd slaughtered the bull, they brought the boy to Eli. And she said to him, as surely as you live, my Lord, I am the woman who stood beside you praying to the Lord. I prayed for this child, and the Lord granted me what I asked of him, and now I give him to the Lord for his whole life to be given over to the Lord. I thought to myself, if I could go back, and take my mental thought that I have right here, right now, I think the one thing that I would try to get across to my children is that you really belong to God. And that I want to make sure that you understand that in whatever capacity you live, you are serving God to the best of your ability. I would like to go back and do that again. When you're home today, read all of 1 Samuel chapter 2. It'll tell you about Hannah's prayer, but she starts out and she said, my heart rejoices in the Lord, my horn is lifted high. My mouth boasts over my enemies. I delight in your deliverance. There is no one like the Lord. There is no one beside you. There is no rock like our God. And then you go down to verse 11 and it says, and Elkanah went home to Ramah, and the boy ministered before the Lord and Eli the priest. I am really sure that the reason that Samuel is going to be known as one of the greatest prophets, maybe the greatest prophet, priest, and judge in Israel, it's not because of Eli and his sons, because they were a disgrace to the priesthood, and God tells Eli, I'm taking you out. That's Jerry's translation. I think it's because of what Hannah put into Samuel at such a young age. That's another thing I think I would remember. When I was growing up in my teens, I knew how to raise kids. You just build this room and you tile it on 4 sides. You throw them in there, wash them down, and give them a bone once in a while. I had all the answers. I could have written you books. Now I just got tips. And just a few of those. Moms, I want you to know how much you make a difference. And if you're banging your head against the wall and you just feel like you keep doing it and you're absolutely going nowhere, just stop. Even in the middle of the moment you think, I can't go on anymore, I can't do this anymore. I want you to stop and remember, you at that moment in time are making a profound difference. Be dedicated to the Lord. That's what I see as outstanding in the life of Hannah. She was totally dedicated to the Lord. She would sit there and pray and mutter until a priest thought she was drunk, and she was just praying silently to God. God, I am so broken inside, and she did it again and again. Sometimes I wonder if I pray not significantly enough, but with enough repetition that God hears me. Keep praying in Him. Keep reading His Word. Keep trusting in Him, and your faith will sustain you. If your mom is around this morning, thank her for the good things she helped you through. Not every mom is a perfect mom. I don't believe a perfect mom exists. But if forgiveness is needed, forgive. Because remember, God forgives us as we forgive others. I'll miss going out to lunch today with my mom. But I had her 90-something years. I can't say a word. But I'll miss sitting across the dinner table and just looking at her and listening and probably doing most of the talking. Mothers, you are indeed precious. It's interesting that I read so many things this week. They say that children learn Dada first, but it's Mama that does everything for them. So when your kids are struggling, when you're struggling, don't hesitate to talk to someone else. And those of us, when we see parents and kids, we need to say to them sometime, thank you for putting in the time and the effort that you're putting in to raise your children. Thank you. And if I can help you, if I can encourage you in the thing we can all do, is to sit down with our directory, if we can't remember, and pray for everyone, mom or no mom. If you're here today and you're not a child of God, and you'd like to become one, we'll try to encourage you to do that. If you need the prayers of the church, the strength of the church for something that we can help you with, would you let us know while we stand and sing?